Hello and welcome to The Magic of with Paul Roffman, and my very special guest today is a writer, director, producer, man of many talents, Mr. Andrew P. Jones. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, Paul. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I haven't seen you for, oh my God.
It's been a while. It's been a good 3 months of however long quarantine has been going on.
How's it going? How are you doing? How are you and the family?
We're doing well. I mean, it was an adjustment. We have a 6-year-old, so we had to get through the end of school. That was interesting, doing school online like this.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we're doing okay. Not many fights. We're getting along.
That's the ultimate test. It's the
It
ultimate
really
test.
is. Yeah. No, it's been okay.
Good. You're with the right person then. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we met at the world-famous Magic Castle in Los Angeles, where you're a member.
That's right. And you as well. Do we always have to put world-famous ahead of Magic Castle?
We have to put world-famous Magic Castle.
It's like the world-famous San Diego Zoo. It has the same same moniker.
It's the American thing, you see. Brits, I've got used to it now. See, Brits, we kind of go, ask, what do you do? Oh, yeah, I do a bit of acting. Yeah, I'm a magician. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the American thing is, oh, I'm a world-famous magician and actor, and I won 3 Emmys, and hi.
Right. And you have a world-famous cup of coffee.
This is the world-famous cup of coffee.
Everything's world-famous,
And, you have to introduce yourself like that, otherwise, next, who's important?
But the Magic Castle is, in fact, world-famous, I believe.
It certainly is, and I tell you what, one thing I've really recognized the value of it since it's gone. Well, it's not gone, but since we haven't been there. We can't go there.
Temporarily, yeah.
So I met you, I remember sitting at the bar in your favorite seat in Irma's room.
I do have a favorite seat.
And we got chatting about England, I think.
Yes, because I think we were in the midst of planning our trip there. We went there for the holidays. And I think we were just starting to plan it, and then I heard that delicious accent of yours, and I thought, well, he must know a thing or two about it. So
I've been fooling people for years with this delicious accent.
It's very good.
Yeah. So you had a great time there, I know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're so thankful. We keep talking about it, because the world had no idea what we were going to go through.
Yeah.
So we keep looking back on that and just saying, thank God we had that experience. We were able to go away and have that Christmas in England. That was always my dream, is to have the Charles Dickens Christmas. And so we got to do that. We popped over to Paris for a little while, and then we spent New Year's in Edinburgh, Scotland. So it was amazing. And we're just so thankful that we squeezed that in before the whole world went to hell and shut down.
And you were there with your daughter. How old's your daughter?
She's 6.
And is she the little girl in the show?
Yes, she's in the show.
So we'll get...
interesting story how that came about,
too.
That actually wasn't supposed to happen. Well, when we get to it.
All right, but to fill in, actually, so we're talking about Casting the Net, which is a new 6-part TV show, comedy, although kind of... It's comedic. I wouldn't say.
It's not. It's certainly not. It's not set up punchline.
No.
It's just a single camera comedy. So more in the vein of Master of None, or I like to think of it actually as a female Entourage.
Exactly what I was gonna. Yeah. That's exactly what I. So I signed up to Urbanflix. Now, where is it being shown in the UK or internationally?
They're just about to roll it out internationally. As we speak.
As Urbanflix, through Urbanflix?
Yes, it's still going to be Urbanflix TV. Mm-hmm. It's a new streaming network that's available. If you have Roku, Apple TV, Chromecast, Fire TV, you can just add a channel like you would any other channel. We have Roku here, so it was very simple to just add Urbanflix TV. And then you have to subscribe, but they do have a 7-day free subscription. Otherwise, it's $4.99 a month. And yes, we're all signed up with a lot of different subscriptions these days, but $4.99 a month to really support diversity and just a different voice. Or it's $49 a year. But there is a 7-day free trial that you can just go and watch Casting the Net or Costing the net, as you say.
Casting
Sir Paul.
the net, yes, exactly. Give it a bit of class.
I like the way you say it. Yeah.
I've delved in and I've watched it all,
Good.
and I really enjoyed it. It was actually you beat me to the punchline, which was a female entourage.
Yeah.
And it made me think of Get Shorty, Entourage, that feel, not necessarily that content, but that feel, that sensibility. And
it's a little Sex in the City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. They're really good size episodes. They're really easy. They're really easy to get into. And I really like one of the things. You get to the end of the series, and it's prime for a second. I mean,
right.
It's the show that you want to see come back.
Right. Now, technically, it's not even the end of the season. They contracted 6. Look, this is a brand new endeavor. Mm-hmm. They started from the ground up to build a network, and they had to load it up with content. So and there's a lot of content on the site. There's a lot of movies that they licensed and some other shows, and this is one of their original shows. But for all the original shows, they said, let's just do 6 episodes first and see who's watching. And then if people are watching, we'll finish out the first season with maybe another 9 or another 6 or whatever they decide. So it's still, but I wanted to leave a good cliffhanger, so at least it would maybe force people to write in and say, hey, we got to know what's happening next. We need more shows. And that has been the reaction, by the way. Surprisingly, the biggest critique we've had is that there aren't enough episodes, which is a wonderful problem to have.
It's the best yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And they track everything at the network. Boy, they go through all the analytics. They know who's watching, how long they're watching, when they stop watching, when they come back and start watching again. Mm-hmm. They analyze all of that data. And we have been consistently, we have the highest retention rate, which means, it's a percentage from the first moment it starts to play to the very last frame of the credits. That would be 100%, I believe. I think this is how it works. Our retention rate's been in the mid 90 percentile.
Wow.
So we are the most binged show. We're not the most watched show, but we're the most binged show. When people start to watch it, they finish the whole thing. They just seem engrossed with it, and they watch the whole thing through. Very rarely do they take weeks to watch it, or do they stop watching it. So that was a real compliment. That's a real feather in our cap.
Yeah. It reminds me of the, most British sitcoms or TV show series, they tend to be 6 episodes.
Yeah.
And actually, there's something in that.
There is something in that. And you do fewer seasons. You rarely will find a British television show that goes on for 11 years. Yeah. Usually they'll do 3, which they tell the story, it's done, it's played out, and they move on.
Yeah. It doesn't.
I think that's smart. Yeah.
Yeah. It just felt like that. And what I liked about as well was that sensibility, that fact that you want to watch more. And also you can feel that has room to develop, and
right.
Particularly that story, I think, would go on much longer than that. I mean, it doesn't feel a 2-season type thing. It feels and I was coming from 6 episode
right.
idea,
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm hoping that we have a good 3 seasons. That I think that would feel good.
Yeah.
If we had a few more, that would be okay. But I think we have 3 healthy seasons in it for sure.
How many episodes is a season then?
I still don't know. I haven't ever gotten a clear answer on that, but it could be 15 episodes. Could be the first season.
Okay, cool.
It could be fewer. I don't know.
And another thing that so we're talking about diversity as well, and with UrbanFlix and with what's going on in the world. And the thing that I found, actually, the biggest compliment I'll give you, in a sense, is that it's not about that. Even though it's you're watching it, and of course it's a diverse cast. It's 3 women of color who are the protagonists of the story. Right. But very quickly, that stops being a thing. That's not a thing. From my point of view, I'm watching it, and it's just a story about people.
Well, that's good, and that's what it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, and that doesn't mean we don't tackle those issues. A lot of the show came about because my wife, who's starring in the show is a professional actress of 15 years plus. She started in Chicago, did a lot of professional equity theater there, started her film TV career there, and then migrated out this way. And she works. And but I've had years of listening to her and watching her come home from an audition and just see there are many, many truths in the show, little things that you may not even pick up on.
Yeah.
But it's stories that she's told me about. And a lot of it is about, when you're a black actor versus a white actor, there has been a tendency many times you get pushed to the end of the day when traffic is at its worst. Just little slights like that. That people may not even think about, but they notice it all the time because it's always happening. And she would tell me these stories, and her friends would tell me these stories, and I kind of just I catalog everything as a writer. I catalog everything in my head, and it's subconscious, and then it comes out someday. I'm able to access it, and it comes out as a joke or whatever. So yes, we talk about it without directly talking about it. We certainly don't lecture about it.
Yeah, and they get to be as politically incorrect as anybody else.
Yes,
the tables definitely get
yes.
turned.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the way people joke and talk, and one thing the network wanted was they wanted a very raw show because it is streaming. We don't have to worry about ratings. It can be mature. And the owner of the network, his sense of humor is just very raw and gritty and dirty, and he likes that stuff. So that was fun to be able to just push that envelope and with language.
Yeah, it's not politically correct, which is great. Like, I know you, we know each other. We're not censoring our opinions and our point of view, and that show is definitely not doing that.
No.
I tell you, I loved Willard. Willard, is it?
Willard Pugh.
Willard Pugh. He was great. And then you refer to him being in The Color Purple.
Willard Pugh. He's probably best known for his role as Harpo in The Color Purple,
which was great.
And,
I love that.
And I had him play him. I've known Willard for years. He was in a movie I did called Kings of the Evening back in 2010.
Right.
And we've been friends ever since. And he's such a bigger than life person. What you see really is kind of what you get.
Right.
And he jokes about how now he sees that when he and I have had little conversations about things, and now he knows I'm taking notes in my head because he's seen all this stuff kind of regurgitate back out. All the stuff like him on the vibrating machine. he actually does that.
Right.
He should sell those things. He loves them so much. And he has called other cast members from The Color Purple and tried to get them doing it. He loves that. He believes in it. I have one in my garage because of it. So I take all that stuff, but I got him to play a larger than life version of himself. And I've traveled around with him when we were promoting Kings of the Evening, and everywhere we went, Harpo, Harpo, Harpo. It's a very real thing.
Yeah.
It's a very iconic role that he will carry with him to the grave.
And it's a charming character. He's actually a charming character.
And he is actually a cowboy. And what I'm referring to there is that the women hatch a plot to make a fake movie just to get on social media radar. And they decide, let's just do something sensational. Let's make it a Western, because nobody's done that. There's no black female Westerns. And that actually came about. I wrote this first as a screenplay many years ago because Willard said to me one day, I'd really like to be in a Western, because he's a cowboy. He's done rodeos. And so I tucked that away years ago, probably back, good 10 years ago. And now it's materialized.
Brilliant. It's really, I'm looking forward to hearing the British market get hold of it.
Yeah. I'm curious about how that's going to go.
Yeah. I think,
because I'll tell you, as a filmmaker, I've made 3 movies and now this TV show. And I have had to hear, when I go through distribution on films and all that, I have constantly heard black films don't sell overseas. Black actors don't work overseas. There's no interest. There's no market. Unless you're Will Smith, there's no market. And I think we've seen that proven incorrect time and time again. But that has been the mantra, and I've had to deal with it. Kings of the Evening, was an African-American film, period piece. So that it's a very real thing. Now, hopefully we're getting past that. Hopefully. I don't know. So yeah, I'm going to be really curious to see how this goes.
And is it going to be, is the platform going to be the thing in internationally, or is it going to be sold to other platforms?
No, I believe it's still going to be UrbanFlix TV channel, just like Netflix.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I believe. I don't know for sure.
Right. And what's the situation as far as the next step? Is it? Have you heard anything about next episodes, or are we waiting to hear?
It's doing very well. Like I said, the retention rate's very high. They were very excited about that. They're very excited with the reaction to the network. They have not been terribly excited with the number of viewers that we've had.
Right.
That's been concerning to them. Now, I've done the math, and I know how many subscribers they had at a certain time, and we still had a good 11% of the audience. Now, that's really good, actually. And I did my research, and if you look at Netflix shows, some of their highest profile shows, might have 13%. Now, that's of 182 million people, so that 13% is a big number. Ours is much smaller than that, so it's giving them pause because they're just looking at the number of people watching. Now, we've never been out of the top 4. I think we've always been number 3 or number 4. So that's a great thing. But we still just need more people to go and watch it because, it's a business. They're going to look at it and think, can we put millions more into a show that's only bringing in this many people?
Are they a viable subscriber base? Do they have that?
It's still growing. It's absolutely growing. They've been happy with the growth progression. But they do need more. So it's been tricky for us because they're very happy on one hand, and yet they're wavering on more shows right now because they just need to see the traffic go up a little bit for our show.
Right.
And again, once people watch it, they love it. They absolutely love it. Everyone that talks about it very glowingly. We just need more people watching. And it's difficult. It's difficult to get people to be proactive.
Absolutely.
To sign up. Even with friends, it's very hard. I have to ask people 2-3 times sometimes. And I can tell, and I feel bad asking because you're in the arts, you're an actor. We all have to ask each other to watch our stuff. You've had people ask you to watch stuff, and there is some little resistance. I think as human beings, we like to find our own entertainment. We don't want people telling us to watch something.
Yeah.
Or close friends that will say, "Hey, I saw this thing." But as a filmmaker, if you go to your friends and say, "I made this thing, please go watch it," I think there's something in the brain that says, "Oh, it's probably not very good." And then what am I going to say? And so that's always an issue. And then just getting people, to, what is this thing? UrbanFlix, where is it? Is it on Netflix? I don't understand. And I've gone through that. And you try to explain it, handhold. No, you just need to sign up. If you have Roku, just find the channel. And
it wasn't on my Samsung TV, the channel.
No. You have to have Roku
right,
or...
Okay.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get that. So I did it via my phone and streamed it to the... mirrored it to the TV. It's
right.
easy.
Or you just go to UrbanflixTV.com
and
you can sign up and watch on your computer if that's the way you consume things. So there's many ways to do it. So we have that learning curve. We just have that hurdle that people just don't want to sign up for something new. All of us now, we're paying for multiple streaming services. Do I really want another one?
Yeah, exactly.
But there's good content. There's content there you're not going to find other places.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to encourage people, give it a try. Give it a
guys,
try. Give it a free try.
Give it a free try. I mean, sign up for the 7 days and stop the subscription and watch it and see if you like it. And you
keep it for a month. Keep it for that $4.99 month.
It's a $5.
It's not going to kill you.
It's a $5. It's less than the old days renting a Blockbuster video.
Seriously, it's a grande latte. I mean, it's $5, and you're supporting a lot of people. You're supporting diversity. You're supporting different storytellers, the different point of view.
Yeah.
And people like me. And I got to tell you, during this pandemic, there is no industry right now.
Yeah.
As you know, it is shut down. There's no work out there. It's kind of a frightening time. So me selfishly, I would love to hear, yeah, the numbers are up, you're coming back. We may not know when, but at least it would give me a little peace of mind and our actors a little peace of mind, because it deserves it. I believe it deserves to come back. It's a good show. It's a funny show. You can lose yourself in it. And as you said, you consume it very quickly.
I watched all 6 episodes. I mean, I hadn't planned on watching all 6. I'm going to tune in. I'm going to watch the first one. And then I will, you know what? I'll probably watch 3, and then maybe watch the next 3 the next night or 2. And then I got up to episode 4 and I was like, oh, am I on 4 or 5? Oh, and I
might as well finish it.
Might as well finish it. And that's, I think that's a compliment to you and your show.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you. Yes. And the episodes are about 25 minutes, so it doesn't, in 3 hours you can watch the entire thing.
Yeah, and it has that entourage-y feel. And you're talking about some of the true stories, and even in my experience and going to auditions, but obviously I'm not dealing with the inherent undercard of racist tendencies within the industry. I'm not dealing with that, or at least obvious ones. And there were some great moments, like when she goes to give her your wife, it's Linara.
Yes.
She gives her resume and headshot, and there's 2 trays. There's white, was it Caucasian and others.
Yeah. And I got that was one of those true little stories that happened that I just always remember it. And it's like, and it's just like, we got put in the other bin.
And they're
like
not,
that's somehow different.
And
there's the norm, and then there's different.
Not black enough.
She gets that a lot. That's been an ongoing theme, where she's called not black enough. Yeah.
And I think that's a really interesting avenue, actually, because with what's going on been going on worldwide, but certainly in LA with the protests and the riots and the mixture of what one may say was genuine feeling, people then attaching their platform to another platform. So, you might approve of protest, and then another group attaches it to a protest, and you're suddenly you're part of this other group now because you've made that decision, and you're not black enough, or you're not, only black people think this way, or only white people think this way, or Jewish people are this way. And it's like, no, we're not. It's the older, I refer to, the film With Nail and I.
Yes.
And there's a great line in that, even a stop clock tells the right time twice a day.
Right, yeah.
And so, I think that's really relevant to points of view. We have diverse points of view, and I think you really dig into that.
And she's been widely criticized. She's half Brazilian. Her mother is Brazilian. She's a black Brazilian. Her father's African American. So she prefers the term black.
Right.
Because, and when she says that, when she doesn't own African American outright, she says, "But I'm not. I'm half African American. I'm half Brazilian."
Yeah.
So there are shades of gray in there, and she's been raked over the coals sometimes for saying such a thing, or for not saying such a thing. And then there's the whole thing that there's a stereotype of what a black person is when you go into an audition, and can you be a little more black? Can you be a little more urban? Urban is that kind of keyword, that code word. But there's so many different variations. It's all different. You and I don't sound alike.
Yeah, which is interesting on the Urban Flix then.
Yeah,
that they're selling it as that.
Yeah. Well, their whole thing is to redefine what urban means. Right, yes, they are using the word, but they want to redefine that it just means inclusive. We're all urban. We are all urban in whatever way you want to describe it. So for them, it's diversity, it's inclusivity. Whether you're white, black, Asian, gay, straight, they want to see the world reflected in their programming. And I like that. Let's redefine what urban means. Now, that's kind of a tall order.
Yeah.
Because we all have a thought when we hear urban, we think, oh, well, South Central Los Angeles.
Although it means something different in the UK, I would say. Urban.
What does it mean?
I think urban is city,
yeah.
street.
Well, that's really what it does.
Alive.
Mean. Yeah, but it's gotten this kind of stereotypical definition here.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I think urban flicks, even as a title in, say, the UK, I don't think it would have the same connotation.
Oh, interesting.
So I think, yeah, it's and that that's a real strength of the show. It's definitely not a preachy show. It's funny. It's very real. There's loads of things that you will see, and you'll go, even as an actor, and you'll say, "Oh yes."
Yeah, I was going to say, especially if you're in the industry, if you're an actor in the industry, there's lots of little gems. I tend to write a lot of stuff that it's kind of therapy for me. Little things that frustrate me. The last movie I did, Darkness Reigns, had to do with kind of the film industry and some of the nonsense that we have to put up with. The one before that had to do with reality television production and some of the nonsense behind that. So it's very cathartic for me to write this stuff and get it out. But I enjoy it.
So how many movies have you made?
I've made 3. Mm-hmm. And then this is my second TV show. Back in the late 90s, I had a kid show called Field Trip that was kind of half scripted, half reality, half puppet, half human. It was kind of this hybrid show that was back in the very end of the 90s. So and then I got heavily into reality for a while. But I've always wanted to do this. I love this world. This is kind of home for me. I just feel like I found my comfort zone in doing this scripted episodic television. I really enjoy it.
Right.
More than doing movies. Movies are tough because you gotta sell it. And it's literally just a can of beans on the shelf with a bunch of other cans of beans. At least with episodic, you can make several shows, and it has to have a place to live and to show. It's not just a movie that's going to be buried in Amazon somewhere.
Right. How do you, in terms of writing, in terms of thinking about storytelling, now you've got with an episodic show, you've got a lot more time to develop character, to develop situation. And obviously, with a film, that there's a reduction. You have to be very, very exact, I suppose.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, as I said, this movie or this show originally was a screenplay, and it was all told in a very compact amount of time, beginning, middle, and end. So it's been a challenge for me to actually draw it all out, add more characters, develop more storylines. That's actually been a real challenge because I keep thinking, well, in my head, I know where this goes, but that was for the feature version, which was only, 90 pages or whatever.
Right.
So it's been a great exercise for me as a storyteller to give a lot more backstory and to slow everything down. One thing, Herb Kimball, who started the network, he's always telling us, slow everything down. You don't need to rush it all. You don't need to tell everybody the whole story in 2 episodes. Slow it down. Let us love these characters. Let us get to know them slowly. So it's been fun working with him and having him kind of encourage me to slow it down and to teach me to do that. So that's been a great relationship.
How did you find your cast?
Well, there's a casting director that I've worked with since Kings of the Evening. It's when I met her, and we actually made that back in 2007. So it's been a while. Her name is Phaedra Harris. She cast Kings of the Evening, and then she has cast everything I've done since. We became very good friends, very good collaborators. She's the one that actually brought me into UrbanFlix. She was the one that was hired there as an executive, as a casting executive. But she's also really spread her wings as an executive producer. She identified my show, brought it in. She identified some other shows. There's a show called Pump that she brought in. She's very good at finding talent and finding shows, and she's very good at selling things and getting people together. So she and I actually collaborated on this, and she's an African-American woman. So we also brought her in to help write some of these scripts. because I needed that voice. I needed that authentic voice. And so I can kind of write what I think it sounds like. But sometimes she would come behind and say, no, that's not how we would say this.
Right.
And so she would just add a beautiful layer to it of reality and authenticity. And then she also cast the show. We know how to work together when we're casting. She knows my tastes. She puts up with my craziness and my bad choices sometimes, and steers me and gets me back on the right path. She's been doing it so long. She's been in this business 40 years, so she knows a lot of people. She knows the casting isn't just, there's a whole, now especially there's social media numbers and, is this person going to be able to elevate the show and bring in viewers? And there's a whole other layer. Sadly, it's not just about talent anymore.
Yeah. I think that's interesting as well, the whole layer of social media. Actually, and the casting, the lady who plays the casting director in it, she's fab.
Yeah, Ella Joyce. She's
so funny.
Everyone probably remembers her if you're old enough. The TV show called Rock.
Right.
Okay, it was a very popular sitcom here.
Okay.
And she played Charles Dutton's wife on the show for many, many seasons. She's been on other shows as well. Wonderful actress, wonderful person.
Right.
Just enjoy her so much. And you don't always have that experience, especially with an actor that has had some notoriety and has been on many shows, been on shows for years and years and years. Oftentimes they can bring a lot of baggage into it. She's such a joy to work with, and she's so enthusiastic about this show. I mean, she posts about it daily. It's important to her. She really wants it to find the audience. But she's very funny, and she's loosely modeled after Phaedra.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah. I mean, she's a fab cat. I like that she's a real contrast to everything else that's going on. And she brings actually a weight to it, a kind of depth.
Yeah. And she's inappropriate. She does not censor herself. She's of an age that she can just speak her mind and say what she's feeling and get away with it.
I know a casting director exactly like that.
Yeah.
In the UK, exactly like that.
Yeah.
If you followed her on Facebook, she'd get banned 1 million times, but we know.
And a lot of the stories, a lot of the funny little things, you might watch the show and go, oh, that's kind of ridiculous, but it's funny. Many of them are modeled after things that have actually happened. Some of them are stories that Phaedra told me. I'd say, Phaedra, I need another funny story that happened in an audition. She'd say, well, there was this girl that came in and she literally wasn't wearing any underwear. And she did the Sharon Stone to me. It's like, great, no, perfect, I got it. And I turned it into a scene.
That is in the show.
Yeah, and it's funny. But things like that actually happen.
Yeah.
The guy with the gun actually happened.
There isn't a moment where actually when you're watching it, as an actor, you watch it and you go, no, that definitely, those things definitely happen. They ring true. They're not.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, we really pulled from all the silly, ridiculous things that happen in this business that people just don't know about.
Yeah.
In fact, that was my fear, is that people would watch it and say, oh, that's ridiculous. That would never happen. But it's all true. It's all true. It might be elevated a little bit. You got to goose it up a little bit. But there's a lot of truth in this show.
Listen, we're living in a world of, it's insane anyway. I mean, every day it's crazier from
2020, man.
Oh my God.
It's been the year.
But I think, like you said, there's a lot of potential and there's a lot of good that can come out of this. And I think it's our job as the artists as well to help that, to find that.
Well, and that's been kind of the interesting thing. We have a show about women, Black women, who are struggling in the industry, and now our show is struggling. So we're I don't want to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it speaks to the truths of kind of, even though it's a comedy, of what's the content of the show. It's all things that we actually deal with.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I'd be finding myself dealing with it so soon in reality, because I thought this really is the perfect time. This is the time that people are speaking out. This is the time that people are talking about injustices, not only socially, but in industries and businesses. And we had the the Me Too, the hashtag Me Too time, and hashtag Hollywood so white, and we thought everything was going to change there, and it really didn't. It really didn't, and we're still transforming, and we're still changing. But now we have this show about women. We were told by an analytics person, this is the first streaming show that features 3 Black women.
And it, it's talked about within the show, and it's
Yeah.
And it's funny, all the stuff about social media that you discuss.
Yeah.
Which I gather is not your favorite place anyway.
I don't understand it. I don't understand the allure of Instagram and all. I don't understand it. I don't make any decision in my life based on something I read on Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Do you?
It's changed. I'm working on my Instagram because I realize the interesting thing is, as a friend discussed with me, if you get, I don't know, 1,000 people following you who are genuinely interested in you, you start looking at the numbers. It's the analytics. What percentage of those are going to buy from you? In the simplest of terms, because we're selling something. You're selling your show. Mm-hmm. They're interested in following your development. Blah 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 blah. Can you sell? So if you have 10,000 people following you or 1 million people following you, the percentage of those that see what you're up to definitely has some impact. So I've been playing with it. I'm not a fan of it. I mean, I use Facebook for people I know generally, and I use Instagram as a broader platform for general people. And
there's YouTube. I know that they're doing a lot of advertising on YouTube by, they play the trailer. The trailer for Casting the Net has been seen, 3 million times or something like that. It's a lot of people. So there is a reach. How they see it, I have no clue. Why they see it, I have no clue.
It's consistency. See, the thing I've learned with this whole YouTube thing, for example, I've set up my podcast home studio. I've got all my bits. I've got a nice audio interface, cameras, blah 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 blah. And
you have your dice in the background. It's very, very important.
Yeah, my dice are there, and a few very important magic books on the shelf behind me. But for example, you'll go onto YouTube and say, "What's the best camera for streaming live?" Mm-hmm. Blah 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 blah. You look up and it's some bloke in his bedroom, in his pajamas, with the worst camera, lighting, no ability to speak, can't articulate a sentence, let alone a review. And they've got 15,000 people have watched this thing, and they've kind of monetized it. Now, I think that's ultimately, okay, people will find it because of that, but the way that these channels get successful are consistency. So they have consistency of posting, and the same with social media. It's the consistency of doing it that allows to bring the audience. And I think the quality is found out along the line. So the ones that are pajama bedroom ones, they'll get. It was. Do you remember in the day it used to be cable TV? Do you remember years ago?
Yeah.
And it was terrible, and it was just,
And yet I also get annoyed because I go online to look for tutorials all the time. If I'm editing something and I need to do a certain effect or whatever it is, I get so annoyed when they're overproduced too.
Right.
It's like just I don't need the fancy opening. It's like, oh my God, this stuff makes me crazy. You're not a TV show. Yeah. I'm coming to you because I need to know how to do this thing. Just show me how to do it. Mm-hmm. Don't give me the big open and the music and that it's unnecessary. So there's that fine line. Yeah, there's the people in their pajamas in their basement with the bad lighting, and then there's the people that overproduce. But I guess also there's an audience for all of it. I know what I respond to. I don't know. It's a new world.
Yeah, and it's changing and developing. And I was talking about it with another guest, Lee Warren, and we were talking about the Zoom magic shows. And for me, it's not working, but it's developing, and it's kind of changing the medium and how you would how you would sell it and how you would do it. And the same for event speaking. Can we do these virtual things? Is there a mishmash? And as we come out of the lockdown, And as we start interacting again, which we will, and we are, and yes, there'll be spikes and whatever. I mean, I feel, I don't know, you can't lock us up in a cage forever. I mean, it's just impossible. Life has to go on. That's just,
eventually.
Eventually, it just is. Yeah. It's impossible. And I'm forever the optimist, and we are getting towards treatments and towards something. So we'll see. But as things open up, the technology mediums are super developing now.
Yes.
We're pushing the envelope. We're jumping like, okay, we got to get this stuff to work.
Yeah.
What else can we do?
Right.
So
even this becoming the norm has been fascinating, and even this technology, I think, accelerated very quickly to be able to do things like this.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at podcasts. I mean, obviously Joe Rogan is the example, but which I love. I like the diversity, actually, the diversity of that, and the fact that I don't agree with everything is great. I don't want to agree with everything. I want to have an interesting conversation. I want to hear a different point of view, and if it's articulated well, I can still disagree with it, but respect the point of view. And I think that's an interesting.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's also been just fascinating watching the birth of a network, and during a time of a pandemic. That's been fascinating, and watching their technology, and it's been a good year and a half that they've been building this thing and working on it. But now it's like, now suddenly we're plunged into this pandemic, which you can use to your favor in that you've got a captive audience. So you got people that have kind of gone through all the stuff in Netflix they wanted to watch. They actually moved up the launch because they figured this is, we should give people something new to. So they worked even harder and just got it out there quicker. But yeah, technology is fascinating. And when I didn't even know what to expect when I was going to click onto this new Urbanflix TV, and it looked good. It looked great. It wasn't much different than Netflix. I thought they did an amazing job. And now to watch their marketing efforts and to see that they're basically relying on all this new technology for their marketing. It's running things on YouTube. It's kind of like all of entertainment. The traditional ways of doing things have sort of died off.
Yeah.
You don't tune in to see commercials. So that's been really interesting. Just being on the technological journey with them as they launched this big, massive thing. And I'm really proud of them. And I'm proud of being a part of this new thing from the ground floor. I've been able to watch it grow and watch Herb's vision, which has just been incredible and inspiring. So it's really exciting. I want it to continue. And I get it. I get everything that they're going through, and I understand they're spending a lot of money. They need it to be successful.
Yeah. And
so you got to weigh things. And as much as they may love a show, sometimes you got to get rid of this show or that show, and there's many reasons why it may happen. So I get it all. But I just want more viewers so we can keep making more shows.
Yeah, and
bottom line. And it deserves it.
It does. And also I would criticize this, you also have to give room for a show to breathe and to develop.
Yeah.
That's really important. I mean, there's a classic show, Only Fools and Horses, in the UK. I don't know if you ever saw that, but it went on for years and years and years, and then it became, I don't know how many seasons there were, 10 but they did Christmas specials, and it the first season was not a success. As the same with Blackadder, the same with many things.
Well, yeah, look, we saw that with Seinfeld. Seinfeld almost didn't make it past their first season, and that was, network television. Same with Sex and the City, that almost didn't make it.
Right.
Because some shows take a minute to find an audience.
Yeah, and to develop as a show, and to gel, and to broaden, and
right. Yeah. So you just got to have a network that'll stand behind it,
Yeah.
and but then at the end of the day, it's a business. I've run businesses. I understand the difficulties and the difficult decisions. I know they love the show. They're very fond of the show. They're very proud of the show. They just want to see more viewers to be able to justify spending more money.
where are you with the writing now? Have you got the next
Well,
episodes?
I mean, that's been the other great thing about being in quarantine is that I spent every day, especially for the first 2 months, I had another series I wanted to write that they were also interested in, very different genre, 1 hour drama. So I wrote 6 episodes of that. Then I wrote 9 more episodes of this show, anticipating hopefully coming back someday, and that we need to be ready because we are in a very strange time right now. We may find that there's a window where we could jump into production before maybe we get shut down again. We don't know. Nobody knows. Right now, we can't go in production. Nobody knows when we can go in production. The unions, I mean, it's loosening up a little tiny bit, and there are some productions starting to happen, but it could get shut down like that again tomorrow. Who knows? But I wanted to be prepared. So regardless, I wrote another 9 scripts there.
Great.
And then and I have another series that I'm working on that I did some writing on. So I counted up. I've written, I think, a little over 600 script pages.
Wow.
In this 3 months of quarantine.
What is your process? I mean, how do you write?
I write best when I know where it's going. I know something. I think like Tarantino was talking about. He doesn't know where it's going. He just writes. I kind of just like to know where am I arriving, and then I can get there. I come from many generations of writers, so it flows out of me. I had tying back to magic, my great uncle was T. Page Wright, and the founder of the Magic Castle, the Larsons. He was partners with their father. They developed magic tricks and publications, and they did shows together. They were known as Larson and Wright. And my great uncle is a very, very prolific writer, not only in magic, but at the time he was writing short, silent movies for Universal, and he was only in his late 20s.
What's his name again?
T. Page Wright.
T. Page Wright.
Yeah.
Look him up.
In fact, Milt Larson, his middle name is Page, named after my great uncle.
Oh, wow.
Because my great uncle was sadly killed in a car accident at the age of 25.
Wow.
In 1930. And by that time, he had left behind hundreds of short stories and screenplays and scripts. And I've got boxes in the garage of his original typed short stories. And I one of these days I'm going to try to go through all of it, but literally boxes of this stuff. He had written and developed so many magic tricks. He had invented so many magic tricks by his late 20s when he was killed. But I find that I do find myself to be quite prolific as well in my writing. It just kind of pours out of me. I can almost write it like I'm just transcribing it as I'm watching it. I don't sit there and think and wonder, and that doesn't mean I don't go back and try to polish and make it better. But I do have that ability to it just kind of pours out. And
does the script gel itself in the edit, in the rewrite, or do you get it down on the first draft type of thing?
Sometimes the first draft is good, but I remember on Casting the Net, there was a time I looked at my episodes, and so I think it was all happening a little too quickly, and I put it all up on the wall on 3x5 cards and kind of moved some scenes around and just found a little better flow for all 6 episodes. So sometimes I have to go in and rip it all apart.
Do you need a visual stimulus, or is it on the computer? I mean, I remember when I worked on a stage show, magic show, with my friend Max, and we kind of wrote everything down on A4 pieces of paper and then taped them together, and I hung them from the wall.
Sometimes that's helpful.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll take little, Post-it notes.
Yeah.
And just stick those up on the wall, and it's just, because otherwise if you're dealing with files in a computer, it's hard.
Yeah. But
to see that big representation of the whole arc, it is helpful. And then you can easily move things around. You can just shuffle them. This scene would be better over here.
Do you work in Final Draft or something like that?
Final Draft, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, interesting. So how did the magic side, did that come through the lineage, through your great uncle?
It did, yeah. So I grew up. I have two generations. So I have T. Page Wright was my great uncle, and then my uncle was Bascom Jones, and he was a fixture at the castle. Now he was a member. He died back in '94. His specialty was mentalism. He published a magazine called Magic with an ICK, Magic. He did that for many, many, many years. People still they've been bound in books now, and you can still buy the volumes of books. So he was an inventor and an author. So that was the magic side, and I used to do it as well, but I gave it up at a certain point because I couldn't do it all, and it, as you know, it takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of dedication. You don't just decide, I'm going to start doing magic. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of study, a lot of research. So I did give that up. I often miss it. I'm still delusional when I think I'll pick it up again someday and become a magician member rather than an associate member. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Right. How long have you been a member?
Oh gosh, maybe 5-6 years.
Oh, short.
Short, yeah, because I do have such a history with it, but I never. And Bill Jr. was still around when I was kind of trying to get in the door there, and it wasn't until Erica was president that we finally made the connection, and she understood who I was, and she kind of invited me in.
This is Erica Larson.
Yes. Yeah. Great granddaughter of Bill Sr., who was my great uncle's partner. So,
a lot of great. You have to be a member there. You have to be part of it.
I kind of have to. I mean, it is in my family. The fact that Milt and I share the same middle name, and it's from my great uncle. And,
wow.
Because when my great uncle was killed in that car accident, it was, I think, a year before Milt was born, and Bill Sr. was so distraught. It was his best friend. He was so distraught that when Milt was born, he gave him the middle name. In fact, on the death certificate, I think it was Bill Sr. that signed off on the death certificate. That's how close they were.
Right.
And I have a copy of that.
And it was, together they formed the Magic Castle?
It was the brothers. It was his sons that formed it, Milt and Bill Jr.
Right. Okay.
So Bill Sr. never got to see it, but the way I always heard the story, it was his dream to have a clubhouse for magicians. So his sons finally made that a reality, but he never, sadly, got to see it.
Wow. And it's an interesting place in terms of, as a performer there. I mean, the thing I learned very quickly was just go and perform there. Get down in the basement and work your act in and really run it and play with people. For me, it's not really about the magic. It is about the magic, but It's about performing.
Yes.
And
you see that with so many performers that go there just to do a set downstairs, or, you can, I mean, frankly, I don't know what people get paid to perform there, but I would imagine, nobody's going to get rich doing that.
Yeah.
So most of the people are there, most of the performers are there for the love and the dedication and the love of the castle itself and the AMA. You see that level of dedication just by who's there every night doing a set. I've seen you do many sets down in the, down in the cellar.
You've been a lovely supporter of my performance.
Well, you're very good. You're very, very good. Your shows are always entertaining. It's always a joy to follow you around and say, "Hey, you can be doing some work tonight." Because you're good. There's the people that I enjoy watching.
Thank you.
There's always been that handful. Like Brian Gillis was one.
Yeah.
Sadly, he's no longer with us, but he's one that I would always, whenever he was there, I would just make sure I could go and try to see him.
Yeah. For me, it was Steve Valentine, actually.
Yeah, he's great.
Seeing him work again, because I think it's because he's an actor as well. There's a
great actor. Yeah.
There's a kind of a different way of processing, I think, the performance. I mean, great magician, and the magic has to be good. Of course, it has to be good.
Yeah.
But I think that the performer, is important.
No, actors, you take the two professions and you mash them up. You can play the audience and you can perform to them, and And I love watching that too, by the way. I mean, just as a director, I enjoy watching you guys do what you do and craft what you do. And I sit back and I study it. And again, it's all going up here because it's all going to end up on paper someday. But I enjoy just watching what you guys are doing and how you're playing the audience and how you're playing the joke.
Right.
That's all fascinating to me.
And I've talked about this before, but it's the merging of arts. And I think magic, and what most magicians don't do, which they need to do, is to look at other art forms, other influences, because it's that boosts the magic. It takes it somewhere else. And you can see it even with your writing. It's the influences. It's the stuff around you.
And that's all we got.
Yeah.
We're sponges.
Yeah.
And I've just got this big file cabinet of stuff that I found amusing and funny and hurtful and scary. And you just put all that stuff on. Someday you access it. And I've got that ability to just access it somehow. Which I'm happy, because I think that makes writing easier for me.
So, as a kid, was writing the thing?
No, not really, because I remember once I was talking to Bascom. Bascom had passed away, my magician uncle, and his wife was visiting me. She brought me some more of his books and stuff that he had, and we were at that time I was starting to do a lot more writing and actually get paid and make a little bit of a living doing it. And I remember her saying, "I just never thought you'd be a writer." And I didn't know to be insulted by that or not, but it took a little while. My dad was a writer as well. My dad was he was in advertising. He was an advertising executive. And that was back in like the Mad Men days of the 50s and 60s,
right.
And the martini lunches. And I heard about all that stuff.
And were you LA? Are you LA?
That was San Diego. I grew up in San Diego.
Okay.
And, but he would do that during the day. And he started as a copywriter, and then he retired as an executive for one of the largest agencies in San Diego. But at night, he would come home and sit in his little den on his typewriter and and that's what he did. So he'd work all day, and I knew at night he'd be in that room writing. He was a novelist. He published many, many novels. Most of them were World War II fiction. Mm-hmm. That was kind of his fascination. So he too was an influence of, just in terms of writing. It's like I say, I come from generations of writers.
Right. So it is genetic.
It seems to be.
Yeah.
If there is such a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows if there's anything to that, but it seems to be. Whether it's influenced just by watching it.
Yeah, you're influenced by it. You're around it.
But you have to have the ability to do it as well. And I remember, the first screenwriting class I took in college, our very first assignment was to do a radio play. So it had to be something very visual, something that could play on the radio visual in your head.
Yeah. Something
that could play on the radio without seeing any images, but you had to tell the story just with words. And I turned in my first assignment, and the professor pulled me out of the class when he had graded them. And I thought, oh shit, what did I do? It's like, he pulls me out in the hallway and he says, like, I can't give you anything but an A on this. You're a very good writer. So maybe there is just something in the genes and in the DNA. Now, he was really tough on me for the rest of the course. After that, I felt like I could do no right, and maybe his expectations were too high. I don't know, but that's the way it started, and so it seems like I've always had the ability. It's just been about honing it and becoming good at it.
And is that screenplay writing, or were you novel, or
always screen? Yeah, I never had any interest in writing a novel. That just seems like way too much work.
Or theater plays?
No, not really. Mm-mm.
So when you graduated from college, where did you go on to? Were you always writing? Was that your
No? That was always the goal. Was always to write and direct. I love directing the most. I love writing, but directing is probably my favorite thing in the world.
Okay. And you produced, you wrote, you directed.
Yes.
Casting the net.
Yes. That was always the goal, but I didn't know how to achieve that goal. A kid growing up in San Diego, I knew I had to get to Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. So Now, at the same time, I had a fascination with special effects makeup and, prosthetics and monsters and puppets. And I had taught myself that craft growing up. That's what I spent my time doing. Every weekend, I would go and do Lon Chaney werewolf makeups and,
Cool.
So I had that little bit of ability. So when I moved to LA, I was able to kind of quickly get into that industry, working with some pretty notable people on very high profile projects. So suddenly I found myself watching professional directors like Steven Spielberg and, Joe Pytka, who's a very famous commercial director. I was able to watch these guys work. And so that was the great, forget college. That's the education, is when you're on set and you can watch these guys.
So we're talking Hook, Batman, Groundhog Day.
Yeah, Groundhog Day.
Serious movies.
Yeah, stuff that I was on set doing these, silly little things, or puppeteering. Did a lot of puppeteering. I got to build props for Muppets Tonight. I was always a big Muppets fan.
Yeah.
I worked on Married with Children for 7 years. And so you talk about an education and directing and dealing with actors. And again, me being my little sponge, just sitting there watching it all happen. I'm there to do a certain job, but I'm watching how this director is dealing with this actor, and fascinating stuff. So that was a great education. But the downside was that it got me off track.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering, are you just kept in your
Yes.
box?
So I had to finally get out of that, and I had to make the decision to retire from that. And that was when I had my kids show on the air. But then suddenly, after 2 seasons, that got cut, and we thought we were coming back for a third. We were told there's going to be a third, there's going to be a third. Just hold on. Nah, you know what? We're just going to run seasons 1 and 2. Sorry, it's done. Well, I had shut my shop down. I had gotten out of special effects. I had no clue what I was going to do. So I put the calls out, and I also had some ability to edit at that point, to do physical editing. So I found myself at Playboy TV in the on-air promotion department, cutting promos. I had never done that before. Frankly, I'd never used an Avid editing system before. So I had to get up to speed very quickly and kind of fake my way into that. And then it wasn't long before I was doing long form editing for them. And then I found, it's Playboy, and it was great at the time. So many people, by the way, have gone through Playboy. I've always heard this urban legend. I don't know if it's true, that Michael Bay used to work at Playboy.
Right.
Just pretty much everybody has worked at Playboy at some point. I meet so many people who go, "Oh yeah, I worked there too." They don't pay a lot because they know that, as young men, there's a line a mile long waiting to work at Playboy TV. It's not as exciting as people would think. It was very kind of corporate, just weird. But I learned a lot, did a lot of long form editing, comedy, a lot of comedy editing. But I knew I had to get out of that. So then I got into reality, and then that went really well. And pretty soon I found myself working on Hell's Kitchen and Nanny 911. And then I got into Naked and Afraid for 5 years, got an Emmy nomination on that. But, you wake up and suddenly 5 years has gone by, 10 years has gone by, and I haven't worked again on my directing career and my writing career.
And that was all editing?
I would go off and do movies in between. But yeah. So yeah, the car kept veering off track, and I had to get it back on the road. And finally, with the editing, I came home one day and I said to my wife, I said, I cannot do this anymore. I'm getting older. I cannot sit in that little room and cut, reality shows. Mm-hmm. I don't know what we're going to do. But if I don't, at this point, take a stand and put all my efforts into changing the course of my career, I'm just dying every day a little bit. And she was tremendously supportive. And it got really scary for a while. I didn't know what I was going to do. And sure, there were fights sometimes. Fine, I'll just go get an editing job again. And, but then this opportunity finally came up. I stuck to it. And then this opportunity at UrbanflixTV came up. And it was the right thing at the right time. And I've been working my whole life towards that. So I think I was also the right guy at the right time for them. Mm-hmm. Because I could bring in all these years, 35 years of makeup effects and editing and writing and directing and puppeteering, and I brought all that into it with me. And that's one thing I'm kind of proud of, is that I do have 36 years in this business professionally, making a paycheck at it. That's all I've ever done.
Yeah.
And learned a lot and worked with a lot of amazing people. And so I think it was a very good match. And they liked my show. And so they were able to make that happen for me. And I was able to make a great show for them. And there we are.
But there were 3 movies prior to that.
Yeah, so Kings of the Evening was the first one. It's actually where I met Lenata, my wife, and that was an amazing experience. That was a very beloved movie. That was an African American period drama. Boy, try selling that.
Right.
That's a tough sell. But it was quite beloved, and it was a darling of the film festival circuit. Opened many, many festivals, closed many, many festivals, won many, many, many awards. And at the time, you're young and it's your first movie, and you think, this is it. I'm the next Spielberg. And think again, pal. I mean, it's a hard road. It is a hard road. Even if you have a little success and a little popularity, it was still a genre piece. It was, it's not going to sell overseas. And it actually didn't do very well overseas. Then my next one was a horror movie. And on that one, we met a lot of the actors that are in Casting the Net. It was a horror movie we did back in 2012 and became really good friends. Now, you've been in the business. You've made movies. You've been an actor in things. Often you have this little romance period for maybe a year or so, and then you kind of all go your separate ways. It's rare to find those friendships that are true friendships. So now I look at that 12, 13, 14, 15, 8 years later, and we are super close. And these are talented actors. Charlie Coons, who's in the show, he was a regular on CSI Cyber for a while. He was in Community as a recurring role. Incredibly talented actors. Jeffrey Johnson, who was he's the voice of T-Mobile. He's been doing that for 8 years or 10 years or whatever, in addition to being a really good, accomplished actor. Mm-hmm. And John Zederko and Peter Mayer, who played in Casting the Net, he's Archibald Maxwell,
right?
The lecherous writer who spends all his time tanning out by the pool. I wrote that part specifically for Peter, and I met him. I didn't know him before we did Haunting of Cell Block 11 back in 2012.
Right.
So I've gathered these actors with me, and they're phenomenal actors. That's the thing. It's not like they're okay and I'm throwing them a role. They are incredible actors. I'm lucky to have them in this show. And they're wonderful in this show.
But they're probably, there should also be people you want to be around.
Well, and that helps too.
Yeah.
We've all spent plenty of time at the castle together, drinking, at the house here, drinking. It always involves drinking for some reason, but they're lovely people, and I can genuinely say they're good friends. And so it does make it nicer to be able to show up on set and know that Jeffrey and Charlie and Peter and John and Lenata, and that we're all there. We've all worked together. We all like each other. There's no egos that are going to be involved.
It's such a hard game to be in, and if you're not enjoying it and you're not around people who are wonderfully creative and nice people to be around, what the hell? What's the point?
Why bother?
Why bother?
I mean, we're so lucky to do it anyway. Why poison it with personalities that are unpleasant? And I will say, they had to earn the parts.
Yeah,
I wasn't in a position to just, because this was a network. Mm-hmm. I was not in the position to just hand them to them. They had to come in and audition. And they had to go up against, I had to present multiple choices.
Right.
But they all won the parts fair and square. Luckily. So, Charlie plays Anthony Applegate, the nice kid at the studio with the beard.
Right, yeah.
Jeffrey is the ex-husband. It's funny, it's the second thing that he's had to make out with my wife in that I've written. So in Haunting of Cell Block 11, they played husband and wife, and now they played ex-husband and wife.
That's an interesting dynamic in the show as well. There's a lot that's going to happen there. So moving forward, we're in the 2020. Are you feeling positive, trepidatious?
I think it's hard for anybody to feel positive right now. I mean, and I think a common theme that I've been hearing is that a little depression is starting to set in with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm certainly feeling it. It's like, it's been 3 months of this now. And not only, I think we are under this delusion that we're going to see on the news one day, it's over. Everyone can go back to normal. Who knows when normal is going to be normal again? I mean, it could be years from now. Who knows when production is going to be normal again? So I'm nervous. I'm nervous just about work. I'm nervous about making a living, as everybody is, because this is all I do. I don't have a fallback.
Yeah, yeah.
This is it. And even if you did have a fallback, who knows if that industry would be opening up?
Sure.
So no, I'm still trying to keep a stiff upper lip.
Right.
Right. I've done everything I can do. I've written, I've prepared, you get up and you try to be positive and today I'm going to exercise. And then you get to the point, it's like, you know what, screw it. I'm just kind of depressed today, but, and I don't know what the future of the show is. In my gut, it's going to be okay, because I think it's popular enough people love it. Somehow in my gut, I feel it'll be okay. It's a great network. They're really good people to work with. I know that they will do right by it and by me if they're able to. They're not bad people. They're not mean people. So I feel good in that. And I just I hope more people will come to the show and watch it, because then at least I feel like there's something in the future I can look forward to. And when it opens up, we can get back in production. And
there's another show as well that you were working with them.
There is another one that, yeah, it's a werewolf genre that I really love, and they like it. But again, it's, they're a new network. They're not Netflix. They're growing, and it's amazing what they've done in a short amount of time, and the money that they've been able to put together and spend, and I'm nothing but proud of them. I would love to do more. I would love to get some more commitments on things, but who knows if that'll happen? I don't know.
But I mean, there's there are lots of networks out there now.
Well, and that's the other good thing is at least now I have this pedigree behind me. I've done it.
Yeah.
Nobody can take that away from me.
Yeah.
So at least, and I do have other show ideas that aren't right for them, that I know that just for whatever reason are not a good match with them.
Yeah.
But maybe this will help me maybe sell those shows somewhere else. I don't know. I know that when I took that leap those years ago, when my wife took that leap with me and allowed me to take that leap, I do know that everything has changed, and I'm so pleased with the changes that happened. I couldn't be more thankful, that I finally got the car on the right road, and then we get this damn pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right when I get then it crashes. But everybody's going through that.
Yeah,
so.
I had the voiceover audition with the agent the day before they all closed down.
Yeah, yeah.
The day before. But listen, things will come back. Whatever way, it's the essence of humanity, and
we're resilient. We've been through worse.
You only have to look to history, and you look at pandemics. You look at the history of them. This isn't any different. It's different because of the world we live in, but it's no different, and we will come through it. We will also, people are going to start making things irrespective of restrictions. They just are.
Yeah, no, we have to create. We have to interact with people.
We have to.
And thank God now at least we have technology like this where we can do these things. I mean, they couldn't do that in the last pandemic.
Absolutely. And so, listen, we'll come out better for it, hopefully.
Yeah.
And on that bombshell, I'd just like to say thanks so much for agreeing to do this.
Absolutely. Thank you for giving me the time you gave me just to go on and on about my life and my career and my ups and downs. And it's been fun.
It's great. I mean,
it feels like we're on the bar stools at the Magic Castle,
exactly.
Chatting.
We just need our burger and our old fashioned, and we'll be kicking.
It's just about. It's almost that time. It's almost cocktail hour.
It's cocktail hour.
Yeah.
So I shall let you go and pour yourself a nice cocktail.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, and They can. Anyone wants to check it out? Urbanflix.com, is it?
UrbanflixTV.com.
UrbanflixTV.com.
That's the website. It'll tell you can either watch everything there. It'll tell you how to subscribe. It'll tell you where to get it, Roku or whatnot. So that's really all you need to know. Also follow us on Instagram.
Instagram, which is Casting the Net.
Casting the Net series. And same with Facebook. So yeah, please follow us and watch us and help us stay on the air.
Yeah, definitely watch it. It's really, really great. It's really worth watching. And
thank you.
Thank you again.